Hi everyone, welcome to the Azure DevOps Fundamentals series. My name is Jeff, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to create a new Azure DevOps project. We have a couple notes and some prerequisites that we need to take care of first. So, first one is when a project is created, in Azure DevOps, a team is also created. Keep that in mind. You're going to need that information in the later episodes. And another note is a single Azure DevOps organization can hold up to 1,000 projects. So you should have enough space to host everything you need. When creating an Azure DevOps project, we do have some prerequisites. Of course, the Azure DevOps organization has to be already created. If you don't know how to create it, check out our video about this. You need to be logged on with an account that can actually create it. In this case, you need to be either a member of the project collection administrator group or have collection level create new project permission set to allow. Similar to the organization, the project name cannot contain special characters. Again, similar reason here, it's going to be part of your URL. So it needs to be URL safe. Cannot get underscores, no periods, and in this case, the length needs to be limited to 64 characters. So without that out of the way, let's jump in, and we're going to continue where we left off with the previous session about the organization. So we have the organization ready, and the first screen that we're going to go through is create a project to get started. And there's something interesting with this screen because actually it's lacking a couple of options. And I think this is a visual bug, and there's a quite easy way to solve it, because those options are very important, specifically when you're new to Azure DevOps. And we can solve it very quickly. Just go to your organization settings. Make sure it's loaded. And just get back by clicking on, in the top left corner, on the name of your organization. And here you have it. We now have a description, and the advanced options are actually available. These are, all the description speaks for itself, but the advanced options are quite important in this case. So let's start with the project name. Let's call it the Cloud Explorers. And this is our Explorers project. So the name, description, you can just check see the checkbox here on the right side, a green check, which means that we can use this name. If we're going to add something weird here, it should switch to, okay, need to wait for it. It should show you, hey, you can't use that name. It's not compatible. Next field to have a look at is the visibility field. And here you can see that the public type of the project is disabled. This is done out of the box by default configuration. And we can change this by going into the organization settings if we really want to. I'm going to show you where you can change it if you want to, but keep in mind, we'll tell you why it's a bit a thing you need to be cautious about. We'll go to the organization settings again. Go to the policies. And switch here the secure, the setting for allowing public projects. And if we enable it, there's a big warning because, hey, are you sure you want to do this? So let's talk, before we're going to switch it on or off, let's talk a bit on why you need to be a bit careful about this. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So let's have a look at public versus private projects. The public projects are usually targeted for open source development, while the private projects are, well, private for a reason. And this is where the warning comes in very well, is the project content is publicly visible to everybody on the web. and the private one is not. You need actually to add accounts, etc., and manage it. So, there's no login at all that is required for reading everything in the project if you choose to create a public one, while the private one, of course, is secure. And there are some limited feature availability with the public projects with DFS related repositories, etc. Private one, no feature limits here. So think about this very carefully if you want to enable public projects, because that option will be available every time somebody creates a project in your organization. So if you're 100% sure you do not want to share anything with the public, leave the policy off. So in our case, let's enable it. And if we can refresh, we should get, yeah, you can see we can actually select Cloud Explorers. And we're going to leave it at private here. So next, let's jump to the advanced settings. First of the advanced settings is version control. And if you need help deciding which one, Microsoft has a very good article. It's actually hidden behind this question mark. And it will redirect us to choosing the right version control of your project Microsoft Learn article. It goes into a lot of details. I'm not going to cover them here. You can take your time and read on it, what the difference is between the options. They have a very good comparison here as well with TFFC capabilities, etc. So if you need to make a choice, head there and have a look at that. There is another thing to mention about the version control one drop-down box. When you create a project, and this is one of the settings, often I hear the assumption of people, well, I'm choosing version control for my own project. That's not really the case. What this version control window does, it decides on the version control of the very first Git repository. When the project gets created, and I'll show you in a couple of minutes, when we create it, our default Git repository gets created, and this is what we choose here. We choose the version control for that very first Git repository, because afterwards, when you create other Git repositories, you get to choose again its default Git, but you can switch to version control because both of them can exist side by side, and it's actually a choice per repository and not for the whole project. In our case, I'm going to leave it at Git because that's the most common version. The last choice before we actually go and create one, it's the work item process. And this process describes basically how the backlog of your project is going to be structured. And again here, if you're not sure which you need, if you're not sure whether you want Agile, Scrum, CMMI, or even the basic one, or if you're even not sure what the basic one is, click on the question mark. Microsoft has, again here as well, extremely nice description about the process model, how it works, what the comparisons are. And I'm just going to pick some things that I really, really like in this article. Is first it actually depicts in an image, okay, which backlog items do we have and in which order they are. What's the hierarchical order for basic, for Agile, Scrum, CMMI. On top of that, the states, the process states for every of between the basic, Agile, Scrum, and CMMI are also described very well here. You can actually see basic state workflows, product planning nodes, etc. They're all described very well here. The last thing I want to show is actually this, and this is an addition that has been done relatively recently. And it's hidden under workflow states, transition, and reasons. So what it shows here is for every type, for instance, for the Agile process, okay, what is the flow for a user story? What's the flow for a feature? Epic, bug, task. So really narrows down a proper choice here. If you end up choosing something that is that might be wrong, you can switch this later. But if you already have built a huge backlog, this is going to be quite a tedious exercise because you will need to remap all the states and everything. So the easiest way is to make sure that you choose one and stick with that one, because changing it later will make it extremely effortful. As you can see here as well, right now the default is basic, and this is also a choice that we can set in the organization settings. We can actually set the default state that is created. So for any future projects, we can actually have the defaults configured. It's a minor configuration, but yeah, it might help in some cases if somebody wants to create something very quickly. I'm not going to go into it right now. I'm going to cover it in more depth in a future session. So in this case, we're mainly focusing on creating the project. So I'm going to leave it at basic, and then we're going to create the actual project. And there it is. It's that simple. The first project is ready to be created, ready to be used, because we just created. As you can see, all the components are there. We have the overview, summary, wiki, boards, repos, pipelines, test plan, etc. If you don't need any of these components or don't want to use them, you can simply go to the project settings and change them over here. Simply enable. For example, we don't want to have the boards ready. We simply remove them, reload, and you can see the icon is completely gone. There are, however, like with the organization creation, a couple of things that would require your attention for properly managing the project when you really want to scale it up. Adding teams, permissions, notifications. You can see the major settings here on the left-hand side. They are configured out of the box quite properly, so you could start using them, the project right away in a professional, proper manner. But again, if you want to harden security, etc., you would need to go through them, and we will guide you on these settings, but we will save that for a separate video. So for now, this is it. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy your Azure DevOps project. See you next time.